Okay, if we can get the resolution up on the... Just a reminder that voting A is in favor, B is opposed. Everyone has their clicker? We will carry on with the next resolution.
Okay, resolution number 8, investment in practical and usable net zero BMPs, District 1. Be it resolved that Keystone agricultural producers lobby the Manitoba government, the Government of Canada, to invest into researching logical, easy-to-use, scalable, and cost-effective technologies that would assist farmers be financially sustainable when striving toward Canadian goal of clean growth and net zero by 2050.
Moved by? Seconded?
Neil Galbraith, District 9.
David Rourke, District 1. There was a little mix-up. It was my fault this year, so I'm not a delegate this year. I'm just a visitor, I guess. So I couldn't move it. But I brought this proposal to our District 1, and we passed it. But I brought it forward because I've talked to federal government people, I've talked to provincial people, and particularly the federal government is asking us to start using best management practices that will get us moving towards a 2050 goal. Their most common practices now are rotational grazing, 4Rs, and cover crops. And they're all good in their own way, but if we're going to have a significant impact on the 78 million acres of the largest carbon sink in Canada, which is the grainland of Western Canada, they're not that scalable in their present form. Rotational grazing is great, but the economics of cattle is not such that most of the grain farmers here would sow perennials, put up fences, and put in cows. 4Rs is fine, except that you can't get to net zero, which is elimination of fossil fuel-based fertilizers, just by making them more efficient through 4Rs. And then the third one is that they've been asking us to put cover crops in and giving us a few bucks to do that. And it's like asking us to sow 78 million acres a second time in the year, this time do it while we're combining, and take $30 to $50 out of our pocket eventually, and hope that we get a return sometime in the future. My wife suggested if I'm going to get off the combine and go and seed, that I must have seasonal seeding disorder, and she has some recommended treatments to cure me of that problem. So we need technologies, and I've gone to Ag Canada, and I've suggested a thing that I call delayed germination seed technology, so we could coat canola or our cover crops and sow them with our spring crops, and then it would be in the ground with us not having to have seasonal seeding disorder. But I've gone to Ag Canada and said, you know, this is an opportunity, and this is kind of, we need cover crops, but we need a better way of getting there. We need the research to get it done, which is what Marion Toulouda said. If we don't have the research, we can't develop policy, we can't get the practice done. So I'd like to encourage Ag Canada and the provincial governments to actually have the research that we need to go beyond what they're asking us to do eventually to the 2050, so the longer term research. What is the alternative to fossil fuel-based fertilizers if we have to eliminate them by 2030? They don't really have a plan at this point. How do we get cover crops across Western Canada? They don't really have a plan. So this is just trying to focus or bring that to our attention and make sure that we have a plan to go forward.
Thank you, David. Is there any further discussion? I often think of what's happened in agriculture in the last 27 years and things that we never thought of in the late 90s have already happened. the next 27 years, there's things going to happen that we can't even think of yet. So it's not out of the realm of possibility to achieve these goals. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. A in favor, B opposes. That motion, or that resolution is carried. That ends our resolutions portion of the meeting. I'd like to thank our resolution council or committee for all their help. And we'll let our president carry on with the next order of business.
Trying to find our president. I have paged our president that is still holds the helm right now, but he's not in the room. So I will carry on with the bylaw amendments. In your packages, there are a package of bylaws which have been reviewed by the board and approved for presentation for a vote at our annual meeting by the members and delegates that are here. I am looking over to our policy. Neil, are you going to put those on the screen, or how would you like to proceed with those amendments? Basically, the two areas, there's actually three areas that are included in these amendments. The first one is to change the existing financial year from November 30th to October 31st. The corporation has already changed their year at a couple years ago, and we're amending our bylaws so that they're consistent with we had the approval of the members to change. We just have to update our bylaws. The second amendment that would be identified in the bylaw amendments would refer to expanding our group membership definition to include other agricultural organizations as determined by the CAP board. So that is to be consistent with the member organizations that are a part of or are members of CAP currently. And the last part is in regards to amendments to include virtual meetings having the same weight and approval as in-person meetings. So you'll see it's quite a inch of documents with amendments, but those are the three areas that are included as amendments to our current bylaws. These amendments were sent out within the period before the AGM. We require a 2/3 majority vote. Button A for approval and button B for amendments. So we'll get the motion on the floor, and then if there's any questions, we will address them and then ask the questions. So I'll ask first for a motion, please. And this is to approve all of the amendments in entirety.
I will make the motion that we adopt the amendments as presented as a package.
Thank you, Chuck. And can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, John. Okay, I'll call for any questions, comments on the bylaw amendments as presented. I see no one jumping up to the mic. Okay, so I guess we were at a point where we can call the question. So I will get everyone to use your clickers. Button A for approve the amendments and button B for reject the amendments. We're good. Thank you very much. And I will hand the chair back to Bill.